I'm Dr. Deb Butler, and you are listening to Thinner Peace in Menopause and Beyond. This is episode number 403. Welcome to Thinner Peace in Menopause and Beyond. This is Dr. Deb Butler, Master Life and Weight Coach, and as always, your coach. If you're a woman and you're smart and you're successful and you've been struggling with weight your whole life, and now menopause is making it harder than ever, and you are ready to make this the last time you ever have to go on a diet again, then this podcast is for you. Stay tuned. Well, hello, all my dear friends all over the world. This is actually my last episode for 2023, and I wanted to make it a memorable one. So this is what I decided to do. Since I've done 403 episodes over 6 years, there's a lot that I've said that you might want to hear again. So what I did is I had the company that works for me, that does all my podcasts, go through my episodes and find some of the most wise and inspiring snippets for you to hear again, to take you into 2024. So whatever you like to do when you're listening to my podcast, this is going to be a good one. So sit back, take a walk, take a drive, and enjoy.
Your podcast immediately resonated. Like, I didn't look at any others. Once I kind of read the essence and listened to a couple, I was just like, oh, I get it. This is this is what I need. I don't need someone to tell me how to eat anymore.
Wow. And so you got that just in a couple podcasts, because I'm pretty clear that I'm not about what you eat, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you probably were listening because you had maybe had a binge.
Yeah.
Which is interesting. And so what made you decide to set up the mini session? What got you to do that? Because I think that's the hardest thing for most people to do.
Because I felt like I'd hit a bottom. And that makes me emotional, because I think we talked about this in one of my things, that when I was 19, I went to eating disorder treatment center and I hit a bottom there too. And it was just like, if I don't make this thing right now, I'm just going to continue in the way your brain adjusts to make excuses for what you're doing or to just keep on going. And I was like, I need to make an action that doesn't let me stop. I knew that signing up for the free call meant I was actually going to sign up for coaching. Like, I didn't think I was just going to talk to you for free. I had to think about it after learning more about it, but I kind of knew that was my actual step. And the funny thing is how I scheduled it kind of far in advance. And then I was having I think I had another binge, and I just thought to myself, I have to do this sooner. And I looked on your schedule and there was a magic appointment the next morning, to the point where you even had to check in and go, did you mean to do this? Like, I didn't see this before. So, and I love stuff like that. Like, okay, this is a total sign from the universe that this is the next step I'm supposed to do.
And I remember that so clearly, because I saw you scheduled out, and then I think I had a cancellation. Like, I don't know exactly what happened, but I realized that the person I thought I was going to be talking to, I wasn't. And what I remember about what you wrote, and then, because I want you to share this, is you just said, I can't go another day. Mm-hmm. I'm desperate. I can't wait. I can't wait.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to say something about where you were at the time? Because I don't think of you as, in all the months that I've known you, I don't see that in you as a desperate person, or even having that feeling very often. So where were you? What happened where you got to that point? Because I think everybody can relate.
Yeah. I don't see myself as that kind of person in general anyway. And what I've learned...
Neither does anybody else.
Right. But I've learned that I hold myself together a lot. And also that some of my bottoms or my sort of desperate moments may not appear as desperate as, I don't know, something you might read about someone else. Right. So I dismiss them as like, oh, that was just some toast. It wasn't really that bad. I'll just do better tomorrow. But there was just a moment where I just was like, I can't keep trying to hold myself together. I have so many other things to take care of. If I can't take care of myself, it's hard to remember the exact thoughts, but I just knew that if I didn't do something different, I would just be in that same feeling again of not being able to hold myself together.
There was another sort of set of podcasts that I was listening to that was more oriented to sort of health at any size and just accepting yourself. And I was listening to these things and I said, I don't want to accept where I am right now. I need to make some changes. Mm-hmm. And with your program, it felt like it was more about making change than just saying like, okay, fine, this is who I am and I accept myself and love myself and I'm just going to continue to be this way, but in a loving way. Because I thought, no. I did want to lose some weight and I did want to lose all that mental chatter. And I felt like when I listened to you, there was a clarity in your podcasts and a clarity when you spoke to your clients that was just hard for me to create on my own because my own brain was just kind of muddled and tangled up. So
yeah, it was. I agree.
But I think when we were talking in the mini session, I was like, I need to hear about your program because I think I want to do this.
Mm-hmm. So it's pretty expensive. Mm-hmm. How did you, in your mind, decide that it was worth spending that money on you? Did you have any hesitation when it came to the money? How did you handle that?
I did have a little bit of a hesitation, but I decided, I think I had enough hope at that point that this could be a really good investment. Mm-hmm. And I mean, there's like a piece of me that would have paid anything to just stop that cycle of, hating myself and feeling terrible and getting in my own way of living my life. I mean, it's like a priceless thing to clarify your brain and move on. And like, so yes. And I also felt like that if there was an investment piece to, like, you believed in yourself enough that you are going to, charge a certain amount because this was a really worthwhile program. And so there was a piece of me that felt like, okay, she takes herself seriously. This is an investment for me and an investment for her. And like, it just felt like hopefully there'll be a payoff,
I can have the most incredible life as long as I do the work, or
correct.
Correct.
I'll take that thought. Keep going.
Yeah.
Life, really, I can make my life anything I want it to be. Do you realize at 70 what a wonderful thought that is? I don't know where I'm going, but the world's the limit. I can make more money if that's what I want. I can start a new career if that's what I want. I certainly can deal with food and relationships. My relationship with my husband, because of my thought process changing, has bloomed, and we're at an intimacy level we haven't been at years. The success and the blessings keep coming. In fact, you and I've had to work on the fact, I still have some self-doubt that I deserve this wonderful life I'm living. And it's almost like food is secondary, but the joy is unlimited. And it's all within 100% in my control. 100%.
Your thoughts are 100%.
100% in my control. My thoughts, my feelings. And you know what? I learned that the model, the CTFAR, can be worked backwards.
Right.
I can pick a result I want and work the model back and figure out what thought do I have to generate what feeling, that with that feeling will create the action that'll give me the results. That was mind-blowing, that I realized any result that I want, any dream that I've had, is within my grasp if I want it to be, if I'm willing to put the action into it, the study into it, have a coach like you that keeps me on track, that helps me with the insecurities I still have, helps me identify. Helps me identify.
Yeah. So a coach just helps you identify your own thinking.
Correct. Absolutely.
Right. So that you have the opportunity to change it if you want. Because sometimes, and you can tell me where I'm wrong, just like right now, sometimes what you say and what you think, sometimes you're agreeing with your thinking. Right. Because sometimes we can't see our own minds that clear.
Correct. It's like when I do the thought dump, I actually have to walk away from it and come back to it as a third party looking at it. Right. That's what you do for me.
I'm watching all of this thinking, when I go on vacation, I just, what I do is I eat healthy and I try to order really good, healthy things for me, but I don't think ahead that much. And this really taught me the beauty of thinking ahead. And I'm thinking of for all of you, not just on vacation, because I did a podcast one time on having you as a project. So I want you to think about this December as you being the project and you thinking of yourself as my 2 grandchildren. And I want you to think of the smartest part of your brain, your prefrontal cortex, the part that manages and thinks ahead, as Jessica. Now, we're getting ready for a day, and it really takes a while for her to get ready because she has to think about what these kids are going to need for the whole day. And many times she's already prepared food the day before. We had chicken broth soup. We had chicken with vegetables. I mean, we had all these beautiful dishes. I can't tell you how good it felt to eat them. But when it came to leaving the room, between her and my son, they had bags of stuff to carry. And the most beautiful thing about this is when we were out and she knew the children were starting to get hungry, she would just pull something beautiful out of her bag. She has these beautiful refrigerated backpacks that she takes. I mean, I'm telling you the planning and the things that I learned from this. And she would pull something out and all the kids would come around, go, I'm hungry. And we would end up eating like apples and almond butter and carrots and hummus. And she just had all of this beautiful food and the kids were just so happy. And you know what? The adults were really happy too. It was so nice to have this food available when you were ready for it. I want you to think of this for you. Every single day when you wake up and think about your day, I want you to think about what are you going to need for your day. I want to talk to you about urges today. An urge is a feeling, okay? This is what I want you to see first, because most of you think that what you have to change is what you do around food. So, for instance, if there's potato chips there and you don't want them and you feel like you have to eat them, you try to stop yourself from eating them, right? And it's really hard because you have this strong feeling or urge to want to eat them. You have all tried not eating potato chips, and maybe you can do it for a while, but sooner or later, that feeling or urge gets so strong again that you give into it. And here's what I want to offer you. You can't stop eating potato chips if you don't know how to deal with the urges. Because if you remember when I taught you the way the mind works, which I called the model, is that a thought, what you think in your mind, creates a feeling or a vibration in your body that causes you to do an A or an action that causes a result. So the action is the eating of the potato chips. But if you're eating the potato chips is because there is a thought and a feeling before that. That feeling when you want to eat the potato chips is actually called an urge or a desire. An urge or a desire is always created by a thought in your mind. And this is really good news for all of you because I want to compare your urges to want to eat something that you don't want to eat because you're not hungry or because it's not something that's going to fuel your body, then I want you to listen up. That urge feels urgent, like it must be attended to. And when you feel that urge and you give into that urge, you strengthen that thought cycle. Ooh, that looks good. That's a thought. Or, ooh, I have to eat that. Or, ooh, I can't resist chocolate. Or like mine, oh, it's potato chips. I have to eat the whole bag. Those are all thoughts that are running around in your mind that you're thinking. It starts out consciously, but if you've been doing it for years, it's an unconscious cycle that creates urges that feel irresistible. And then you go against your will because you feel like you have to. That is what an urge or desire is. In order not to be reactive, you become aware of an emotion that you're seeing or feeling, but you are objective about it because you're using a different part of your brain, prefrontal cortex, or what many people call the observer mind. You see yourself reacting, but you are not the one that is reacting. I know that sounds so woo-woo when you're not there, but it is the key to having a higher MQ. And since the holidays are so close, I'm using some questions and some trick answers to help you decide where you are in your own MQ. So last time I gave you a question about, what happens to you if you're getting ready to go to a Thanksgiving party. And I asked you the question about, do you wait until you're really, really hungry to get there to eat? Or do you really take care of your hunger before you get there so that it is managed when you get there so that you can make that's using your IQ really, using intelligent decisions because your body is not driving you, right? And so we went through all of that and we talked a lot about the mindfulness answers. Now I have a new question for you with some new multiple choice answers. I'll go over all three answers. I'll tell you what the right answer is and why, using mindfulness to help you see why it is so helpful. So here's my new question for you today to help you find out where your MQ is. You're at a Thanksgiving table with your family. I know a lot of you will be doing that. And if you're not with your family, good friends, whatever, but usually your family are your best teachers for bringing up most of your stuff. You're sitting at the table and someone, let's say it's your sister, I've got 3 of them, so it certainly could happen to me, says something negative to you. Now, here's your first answer. Would you immediately feel anger pouring through your body and you find yourself thinking, quote unquote, deadly thoughts about this person? But you act as if all is well. And what you do instead is you pour yourself an extra glass or 2 or 3 or 4 glasses of wine for starters. That's your first answer. Now here's your second choice for an answer. Instead of alcohol, as this anger is pouring through your body, you go and you get an extra 2 desserts. And what you tell yourself, it's the least that you can do for yourself. You poor thing. And what a horrible family you have. That's your second choice. Now here's your third choice. You take a deep breath. That right there might give you an idea that this is more of the mindfulness answer, but okay. You take a deep breath. You see what you're thinking about and what was said. And you know that nobody creates your feelings. You create your own feelings by the way that you think. And the way that you want to think and feel right now is that you are in control of what goes into your mouth. And all the food in the world isn't going to make you change your feelings or your thoughts or change the situation with that person. But you control what goes in your mouth, what goes through your head, and in the end, what comes out of your mouth in terms of what you say. If you chose the first answer, that you decide that you're so pissed off you can barely stand it, and so wine seems to be the answer. How many times do we think that it's a party, what the heck? And so wine becomes like part of the party. But in reality, many times we're drinking for other reasons than joy. So you remember I've told you many, many times before, wine is a joy food. You can enjoy it sip by sip by sip and stop the minute you're through enjoying it. But when you're going on your third and your fourth glass, my guess is the mindfulness is out the window and the mindlessness is in. And at some level, you're thinking that the only way that you can have fun is by turning your back on yourself and not feeling anything.
Anytime you feel or you think I'm celebrating, the first thought I want you to think is I can be at peace with food and I can enjoy myself even more. I can eat what I want and stay connected to my body. And I think that when it's this black and white thinking that I can only do one or the other, I actually think that it takes away from the celebration. It takes away from everything that you really wanting, which is more enjoyment. And you can use food and enjoy it and everything else that you're doing in a celebration. Or for instance, for my client when she was on her wine trip, is that what if you could enjoy the people that are around you, the wines that you're tasting, and the food, but you could do it mindfully? So no all or nothing. I'm just not going to pay attention. I'm just going to leave and you can just do whatever you want like a little kid with a knife. Instead, you decide, I'm going to stay and I'm going to choose a joy fuel meal, which means there's going to be some nutritious food. There's going to be some non-nutritious food. There's going to be a joy eat and there's going to be a fuel eat. You're going to combine them. And if you're combining them, you're using the fuel mostly to fill your gas tank up, your stomach up, and you're using the joy eat for enjoyment. So you won't be eating as much of it, but you can combine it so you can have both. So if it were a glass of wine, you would do it sip by sip. You wouldn't have glasses and glasses because it wouldn't be mindful. You would stop the minute you're through enjoying it. So you would be having everything that you want. It's just that you would be doing it in a way where you were staying connected. Now, in the beginning, when you're staying connected to your body and you're doing joy fuel eats and you haven't had a lot of practice, you may notice your mind coming up with thoughts, oh, that was so good, I want more. Or I never do this, I should just do it all. Or I'm never going to eat it again. When you're connected, you're going to notice how your mind is going to come up with these fantastic ideas of how you can overeat or overjoy eat and end up in a fog. But when you can tell yourself, I can eat whatever I want, I just want to stay connected, as opposed to eat whatever you want and disconnect, eat whatever you want and stay connected, which means you stop at your twos and you enjoy every bite of a joy eat and you stop the minute that you're done. So after I talked to her about her food journaling and really looking at the thought of it scarring her to creating something that it's possible could help her more than anything, and that she believes that that is a possibility, she can start catching her brain when it goes, oh gosh, no food journaling for you, it's going to hurt, to, you know what, this could really help. And that was part of the thought that she would be using some of the time, because that's why she joined the group, is she thought that what I had to teach was different and that she has the wisdom to see that because of years of doing other things. And now she has a brain. You know, a 50-year-old brain is a whole lot more helpful than a 30-year-old brain in terms of being able to see what's been going on, which is my job, is to show you and help you become the observer of your own mind. So for her, I think food journaling will get a lot easier for her because she will be able to catch her own mind from the coaching that I did. And then that led to an email that I got from another one of my students who was so thrilled with me coaching her because she got to see herself. And what she said in her email to me is, thank you so much for coaching this woman that I did and talking about food journals. Because what she was doing with food journals is she would food journal as long as she thought she was doing the right thing. But whenever she was eating foods that she thought she shouldn't be eating, she just wouldn't write it down. She would skip days, is what she said, thinking that if she didn't write it, it would be like she didn't do it. And this was an awakening to her that this was actually going on in her brain. Like when I tell you this and when we're talking about it, you would say, well, that's ridiculous. Of course I know. I know I ate it. But your brain is trying to tell you, go ahead and eat it. Don't write it and we'll pretend like it didn't happen. And that's why it's so important to journal everything without your judgment, to put it all down. Because when you put everything down, there is a purpose and a process for everything in my food journal that will help me show you what's happening inside of you. Just because somebody says it's time to eat does not mean you have to eat. It also means that sometimes you may want to eat when it's not an allocated time. How do you handle that? What do you tell yourself? Once you know when you need to eat and when you don't, and you start paying attention to that and respecting that, I think a lot of things will change for you. Once you know what you're doing and what your body is doing, then you can see why you're reacting the way you're reacting, either at meal times or at work. And are you eating anyway, even if you're not hungry? I'd be very curious about that and fascinated about why would you do that? So that's the way that I want to answer that for you today. I want you to first understand that just because a meal is served does not mean you need to eat. The second thing I want you to realize is that you have a body that will tell you what it needs and when it needs it. And you also have the ability to really pay attention to it. And let's just say that you eat at 6 o'clock in the evening and you notice that at 4 o'clock or 4:30, you're coming around to -2. You could eat just a little bit of fuel food, bring yourself up just a little bit, and wait for dinner. And then you're still eating when you're hungry and stopping when you're full. Or you can let yourself get a little hungrier. You'll be a little bit more hungry at dinner. What's that like for you? Because you absolutely can be a little extra hungry and still control the whole show. But you get to decide how you want to do it because it's your body and your body is in training and you are in training. And we have a lot to do with how our body is scheduled by how we treat it. Okay, so for all of you who are listening to this, who are eating when they're not hungry, either at planned meals with family, friends, or whoever, or you're on a work schedule and you have a time to eat when you're not hungry, have a look at it. What do you do instead? Come up with that brilliant brain of yours and figure out, how can I eat when I'm hungry and stop when I'm full? Once I know what my body needs, that's the question you need to ask yourself. And this brings me to 3 of my clients that I'm working with right now during the special time of the year with different traditions for each of them. And I want to tell you how we're using their tradition, their spiritual tradition, to help them with how they want to eat. So my first client, he celebrates Ramadan. And one of the things that he says that he does is that he basically fasts every day for a month. That's just the spirit of what you do. And there are many, many reasons behind it. I do not have to get into it with you with why, other than to say that is what is done for people who follow that tradition. And he does. And he also has trouble eating when he's hungry and stopping when he's full. But he has absolutely no problem with fasting during the day because that's part of his spiritual tradition and his commitment to that tradition to be more connected to who he believes in. And it's interesting because, when I say he, I don't always work with women. Sometimes I work with men too. It's mostly menopausal women, but not all the time. So in this case, we've been talking a lot about eating between the twos, eating when we're hungry, stopping when we're full, and how difficult it has been. And when he brought up this whole thing about Ramadan and what he does with food, which is basically not eat during the day, and he says it's not only in respect to his religion, but it's also in respect to all his family and friends. It's what they all do. And so it's almost like he has absolutely no urges or no problem with doing this, which I find fascinating because then when it's time to eat, then he finds that it's hard to stop eating when he's full, to stop at a +2. And yet, when he has this compelling reason, this is what I want to speak to you about. He's compelled to fast during the day. There is no way he is not going to do it. You just ask him, he's not eating. And I think because it's a spiritual reason and he feels like it brings him closer to his God, he's absolutely not going to do it. And I think that is compelling. It's almost like it's easy for him. And it's almost like if part of Ramadan is you only eat when you're hungry and stop when you're full, and you eat mostly fuel food, and you were doing it to be spiritually connected, would that be compelling? This is what I was speaking to him about, and he found it fascinating to think about it because he feels like he can't control himself around food like many of you think. You think food controls you. You don't think you can control yourself around food, which is really his kind of major thought error that he has that we're working on. And yet when it comes to this spiritual practice, it's no problem. So does he have control over food? I think he does. I said to him, how could you say that when look what you're doing every single day, that you made a commitment that you're not eating until a certain time because of this traditional spiritual commitment. And it's so strong that no urges can get past it, which is what I always speak to you about when I talk to you about wanting to have a compelling reason so that when strong urges come, it's so compelling, you don't think about it. So he found that so invigorating. He can't wait. I can't wait to talk to him again because he's going to use his spiritual commitment to the holiday that's going on right now and use it as a commitment to himself during this spiritual time to take better care of himself. Even though it's not part of the tradition to eat when you're hungry and stop when you're full, it's not written anywhere. But what if you just added that on and decided to do that as part of a spiritual commitment to yourself? Well, everybody, I hope you liked hearing some of my little snippets, little pieces of all of my episodes over the last 6 years. And if it's inspiring you, or if it's bringing questions up in you as to how you can do this, then let me invite you to do a mini session with me where you can sit and talk to me on the phone and we can discuss what my program is about and if I can help you. And if I can, then I can give you all the details. All you have to do is go to drdebbutler.com /work with me. And you can set that mini session up and get off in January 2024 to the right step. And as always, no matter where you go or what you do, as you go into 2024, please, please, please be very, very kind to yourself. And I will see you next year. Bye-bye.
If you're loving my podcast and you would like some more information to be able to follow along with, then please go to drdebbutler.com/change, and you can get a free copy of my companion book that goes with this podcast that I refer to in many different episodes. That is drdebbutler.com/change, CHANGE.